in configuration, mostly in configuration and data management and service desk management. I'm an Atlassian certified individual. I am just one cert away from becoming an expert, so working on that. And on my off the clock time, I enjoy being a Rockies and Nuggets fan. As you can tell, how happy I am that I caught a foul ball in that picture. I enjoy going to concerts. I'm an athlete, but as a 5'6" IT consultant, I do the best that my body gives me. And I'm a Pokemon nerd. Um, Alongside me in this presentation is Brian Trummer, and he
Hey.
will introduce himself now.
Hi, everyone. Happy lunch. Thanks for joining us today. So, I'm Brian Trummer. I'm a DevOps consultant here with Release Team. 12 plus years of experience using the Atlassian toolset. I'm also an Atlassian certified individual working towards getting that next certification. And I'm also an online community leader in the Atlassian community. When I'm not doing Atlassian stuff, I like to travel, play board games, and when I'm traveling, I also like to check out kind of the local barbecue spots and continue to not be an athlete by eating more barbecue as I could. So happy to have everybody join us today, and back to you, Clever.
Thanks, Brian. Let's talk a little bit about Release Team first. We're DevOps tool specialists. We've been around for 25 years. All our consultants are US and Canada based, and we are a veteran-owned business. As for our consulting services, we do anything from implementations to migrations and upgrades, staff augmentation, whenever you need, some administrators quickly, and just general expert DevOps support. Our clients all come from public and private sector and are based in the US and Canada. And we are partnered with a good amount of industry leading solutions. Personally, I specialize in the Atlassian space and the GitLab space. Brian, I know you do Atlassian. What other tools do you work with for release team?
Atlassian, and then I also Tempo, but Atlassian's
Tempo.
my
Okay.
focus. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, let's get right to it then. What is the current state of your service management solution? Usually, when clients come to release team with help on their service management solution, they have they're in the state that I like to call bad service management. We have different teams managing tickets in different tools. Some orgs might like to call this, a legacy solution. You're just inheriting a tool that someone, that hasn't been in your company for years has chosen for your organization. It's very difficult to derive any sort of insights or metrics into your work. You know, it might be because your teams are all working on separate tools. It just might be because your teams are just managing tickets off an email inbox and there's no way to track any status or any progress to either yourself or the customer on what the progress of your tickets are. So I see this a lot, and there's a path forward to undoing that type of mess that you see in bad service management with legacy solutions. Or if you're a little luckier, you have no service management in your enterprise. Either your enterprise doesn't have any service management software in place. This is an awesome greenfield case because your team can develop the service management system from scratch. You'll be able to avoid many common pitfalls from setting up a service management solution from any existing legacy solutions. You're not going to create any information silos right off the bat. If you don't know what an information silo is, it's a management system of any kind that's unable to freely communicate with other management systems. So when you create these isolated silos, you can create redundancy in work, confusion among teams because no one really knows who's working on what, and maybe some inefficiency too because there's no transparency between the systems in your organization, and a lot of duplicate work can be going on simultaneously. So for this presentation, it'll revolve around the cloud offering of Jira Service Management. Jira Service Management is a service management platform produced by Atlassian. I'll be referring to it as JSM for the rest of this presentation. With JSM, you can easily receive, track, manage, and resolve requests from your team's customers. Customers can send requests by email or a customizable help center portal, which we'll go through here in a little bit, or an embeddable widget on your existing website. JSM makes it easier to categorize service requests, incidents, problems, and changes by having a single spot, a single place to track and organize all the work within your service team. JSM is built on the Jira platform. So if you've used any Atlassian tools before, like the Jira, Confluence, or Bitbucket, you'll see some terms and concepts that carry across all of these products. So hopefully, you can, it won't be too much of a learning curve for you or your team if you already have Atlassian in your stack. It's designed to bring not just IT service management teams, but development, operations, and business team closer together so you can collaborate at speed and avoid information silos. So yeah, let's go over some of the key features to help you start your project. First one I want to discuss today is using templates to create your new project. Um, there are dozens of templates created by Atlassian that are available out of the box in JSM. And they're available for a wide variety of teams, not just your IT service management teams, which is what most service management tools are focused on. Let's give you a live demo of all of this. So on this page, you see just a list of projects. You can see that, right, Brian?
Yep, I can
All
definitely see
right,
it.
perfect. So here we're going to create a project, and instead of having to go in and create all sorts of ticket types and workflows and spend hours choosing what request types your team can handle, we can just choose one of these templates that are available for you out of the box. So we have this for IT service management teams. It's based on ITIL best practices already, so you don't have to worry about reworking or redoing any existing workflows um, when you use templates like this. And we also have templates for non-technical teams. One of the more common non-technical templates that I've used in my consulting is this facility service management. You know, um, it's a great way to get your facilities teams organized. If you're still working in the office, you can request a move, um, keep track of all the assets that are within a room or within an office space. So when the move occurs, you can ensure you can track the location of said assets. Um, Legal team also has a legal service management template. I have helped some legal teams in the past create their own JSM project with using this template as a base. And yeah, I mean, we can creating a project with this template is as easy as just choosing a few options, filling out your team name, a project key, your team type, and hitting that create project button. And you can be ready with a very healthy, sturdy service management base within a minute or two. So I do recommend, not starting your projects from scratch, but using these templates to create new projects. Yeah, let's go to the second feature I want to talk about is leveraging AI to create request types. So we've used a template to uh, create a project for your team, but these templates might not have all the request types that are tailored exactly to fit the needs of your customer. These request types help you define and categorize incoming requests and allow you to collect the right information for each request. They appear as options in your portal to make it easy for people to request the help they need instead of spending hours trying to figure out what type of request they need to bring up or what question or what type and what priority do I choose. So we're going to use Atlassian intelligence to help us create a request type instead of having to create one from scratch. So let's say, all right, we'll go here. We'll create using AI and it asks us for a prompt. So let's say, we need to I work in an IT team. and my customers need to request software to be installed on their machines. Just for this example, let's say the software choices are Office, Python, and Visual Studio Code. I need to be able to approve the software. And once the software is approved, I then have to find a way to install and track the installation of the software on their machines. So using that, I've created a prompt that I'll paste in here, and I'll let Atlassian Intelligence work and help me come up with a few service request types. So here given me some suggestions. I'm gonna go with the first suggestion because the suggestions 2 through 4 are only about installing a certain piece of software. I want my service requests to be a little bit more flexible and allow me to choose what software types to install. So I'm gonna click on here, click on create. It already comes with a name, description. I want it with approval, so I'm going to make sure to choose the workflow and the issue type that will give me an approval path. Click on next, put this under common requests, and my service request is created. And if I wanted to add additional fields, I can add one of these built-in fields or create my own
And one
to
thing too,
add to the, yes.
And one thing too that's cool is that with that clever is we can also use Atlassian intelligence here to kind of suggest fields for us. So especially if we're using like if we're coming from a no service management background, I'm not certain what questions I want to ask. We can select that suggest fields button that's right there in the middle, and it will suggest certain uh, fields that we could put in our request type.
Yeah, so we'll click here. It's generating some fields for us based on the fields that we already have in our system out of the box. I can add the approvers field, which makes sense for a request type that has an approval gate into it. I can add a due date, priority, save our changes, and we have, in a handful of minutes and with very few inputs, we have created a service project and this request type within that service project. Um, so yeah, let's move on to our next our next feature, which is tracking all your assets for faster resolution. So assets is JSM's native assets and configuration management tool. It's a database that gives teams a flexible and dynamic way to track all kinds of CIs, configuration items. And using assets, we'll be able to link these CIs into our forms and our service requests. Um, in my experience with my clients in the past, we've leveraged the assets feature to help offer better user experiences through self-service. With assets in JSM, your employees can easily select the right assets to associate with their requests instead of having to scramble around, look for their serial number somewhere on their laptop, and you're wasting cycles from your agents going back and forth on an obvious question like that. So I'll what you see here is an entry for a laptop. Um, this laptop belongs to me. The serial number is populated. All of this asset CMDB can either be populated manually or through a scanning tool. JSM offers a scanning tool for free, which scans your network and populates your assets database. And JSM also has compatibility with a few third-party scanning tools. So if you already have an asset management system, we can just implement one of these tools to connect your existing asset management system to assets, so you don't have to do redundant work or have two sources of truth, which no one wants to do. So on the screen, yeah, you also see the model of the laptop I have. You can see that I own it. We're past our warranty date. So if I do have a problem with my laptop, I definitely would have to get a new one. Um, so from the customer side, I'm in my service portal. I want to report my broken asset because my laptop's broken, my screen broke, and so I just put laptop screen broken, and instead of asking for my serial number, instead of asking for what laptop I have, I built out this field which connects to assets, the asset CMDB, and it shows my laptop there. So whenever I submit the request, my laptop will already be in there, and your service agent will know all the information about my laptop so they can remediate my issue more efficiently and waste less cycles on needless back and forth communication. Um, the next feature I'd like to discuss are smartphone forms. JSM admins can customize the portal experience by using forms. You saw a little of that in the previous feature, but we're going to expand on it now. These smart forms will allow you to direct the customer to fill out only the needed information in easy to read formats. Form can also include sections to display based on previous answers. So, like, let's say it's not my laptop that's broken now. Let's say, I need to get um, IT help, and I'm having an issue with my device, but my mobile phone. So dynamically, um, instead of you know giving a fire hose of information to your customers with dozens of fields that might or might not apply to their issue at hand, because I chose my mobile phone as the device that I'm having issue with. I have questions that pertain only to my mobile phone
No,
instead of any other device that I have.
not clever. I thought you said you were having issues with your laptop though.
Well, I am, so let's choose that here. And yeah, we
Oh,
can add a message here. If we don't have assets database, which only comes in premium and enterprise, you can ask me for my asset tag, and we can use these smart forms to just make the experience much easier for your customer. And at the end of the day, your agents. So hopefully they'll be able to meet their SLAs a bit more consistently. Um, let's talk about another AI feature that Atlassian has rolled out recently. In the last year or so, Atlassian has rolled out Atlassian Intelligence to help create automations to help your service team become a little bit more efficient. So automations in JSM, if you're not familiar with them, they help you create business rules for your project that help alleviate a lot of manual, repetitive work for your agents so they can focus on more of the value added part of the role, which is resolving your customers' problems. JSM automations are very flexible and easy to develop. There's no coding required in them whatsoever, even without the Atlassian intelligence. But with the AI feature, it's now easier to create an automation in your project. We just need to write a prompt on the automation screen, and Atlassian Intelligence will build the automation for us. Let's walk through an example here real quick. So let me get to the automation screen. These are all the automations that currently exist on our project, and we're going to click on this Create with AI button. So let's say we need to create an automation. Let's say the business case is that we have a manager and a project lead that want to know whenever a high priority ticket comes into the system. They want to get an email sent to them with all the information about the ticket. And we want the agent to know that this message has been sent to their manager. So I created this prompt here. When a ticket is created, if the priority of the created ticket is high or higher, then we would send an email to the project lead. Then we have here in the prompt what information we would include in this email message, name, description, and the requester, and a link to the service request. And then we would add a comment to the actual ticket that states email sent to project lead. So with this prompt, I'll click on preview rule to let it churn.
and while that's processing, there is one thing I want to point out here, clever with the automation areas. You'll see it took us away from it. That's okay. There is also options where it shows you templates of the automations that you can create as well below. You'll see here that this just kind of gives you some suggestions of automations that it will build that are basically already built in as a template. So that way, if you're not sure of an automation, or you think you want something that's an automation, you can always look through these as well and add that to help extend your service desk.
Absolutely. So let's go check on the automation that was built for us. Yeah, we have a name. We already have a description built, which is better than most Jira admins. Let's walk through the step. So the condition is when an issue created, which tracks along with our prompt, a priority greater than or equal to high, which also tracks what we have in our prompt. And then we send the email. It uses smart values, which is a way for JSM to track variables that are dependent on your tickets or any information derived from that ticket. We have a subject line here created. We have the name, description, requester, and link to the issue. And we have all of that populated with their corresponding smart values. So we'll know that'll be correct. And then we are going to add a ticket to the issue that states the email was sent to the project lead. I think the only change we would want to do here is to make sure not to share that with the customer. And yeah, just like that, we have an automation built from a prompt. It's pretty reliable, always worth a manual review or two, as with any AI generated code or AI generated content. But I mean, this would take me at least 15 minutes to do by myself. I mean, just looking up the smart values alone. So it's crazy that, Atlassian Intelligence can just rev it up in a few seconds. I mean, personally, I think that's the most impressive use of AI within the Atlassian ecosystem right now.
Yeah, it's a time saver for sure.
So with the first few features that we discussed, we set up a project. We've created some service request types. We leveraged the smart form functionality and assets, and we set up some automations to relieve, your service agents from any tedious administrative work. So let's expand the capabilities of the service desk and really get the most out of your agents and really just get to the core of the issue, which is resolving your customers' needs more efficiently. So we'll discuss another Atlassian intelligence feature here, which are your AI virtual agents. So we can use our AI virtual agents to automate tier one support issues, provide 24/7 self-service support, because we'll be, setting up a virtual agent chatbot. So that'll be available to your customers whenever your service agents aren't around in office hours. And it can free up your service agents from monotonous, tedious tier one type of support issues so they can resolve more pressing issues. Um, so we'll share how that looks like here. Um, so we have the virtual agent chat. We have it linked up with three different request types right now. If you need a new account, report a broken asset, or decommission a laptop. So we'll save that. I'll pull up the Slack here. Just 1 second. So this is the testing channel that I have. So you can have as many or as little um, customers have access to this Slack. If you don't want to train your customers on how to use JSM or rewire their behavior into going into a service portal that they may not be used into, they'll be able to use either Slack or Microsoft Teams to put in tickets. So let's say I need to decommission my laptop. I'll put that in, a few seconds pass, and I'll get a reply back from Atlassian Assist here on the side. So I can raise my request here, and a ticket will be created. And yeah, users having issues with a workplace device or system. And I can click on this link here, and my issue has been created. My chat log with the chat bot has been put here for the human agent to review, and I can track the status of my ticket and request that I raised right up here. So yeah, we can set up our virtual agents to get rid of at least the first few steps of each tier one support issue. The next feature is still in beta. I've seen it tested, but it's not rolled out to everyone. So I'll just be able to talk about this. I won't really have a demo for this, but let's talk about streamlining monitoring alerts using AI ops. So Atlassian has leveraged Ops Genie in order for you to be able to route any third-party alerts that you have in your system into JSM, so we can then raise any issues or requests from these. um, this is all good, but if any of you have any experience with these alert monitoring tools, you know that there's a fire hose of alert that come in through your system, hour by hour, minute by minute, and it does take a lot of effort and time for your agents, your on-call age service agents to manually acknowledge each issue, to make sense of each issue, to make sure if there's any alert is that's actually pertinent, that actually tells you that hey, something's down instead of a regular status alert. So Atlassian has enabled Atlassian Intelligence in their alerting system to help with noise reduction, problem detection, and to help escalate these ticket groups to incidents. Noise reduction, it does what it says. It reduces alert noise. It prevents alert fatigue and reduces the cognitive load of the on-call personnel that has to tackle, these tickets. Um, to do to use to leverage noise reduction, AI Ops uses detection, which recognizes common patterns by looking at the summary of alerts in the said group, and then it uses these groups to reduce noise. So you only get a summary of a group of tickets or a group of alerts that might be malfunctioning instead of having to manually click on acknowledge on every single alert that comes into your system. And if enough repeating patterns with keywords come in, um, AI ops can automatically escalate these grouped alerts into incidents. So just like every other AI tool, you still want to have some human intervention into it. But I've seen the demos from the Atlassian side, from the videos that they presented, and I've read a lot of the documentation. I think this will be a very important tool in the Atlassian ecosystem moving forward once it's rolled out to everyone. Um, Now let's talk about some reports and some dashboards that you can use to visualize some data. Um, you can use, data visualizations to stay on top of your team's performance. You can more rapidly identify bottlenecks if you look at a colorful graph that'll tell you what tickets are stuck in what state. And you can at a glance see the day-to-day or performance over a certain period of any one of your agents. So demonstrate that. I do have a quick demo here. I all of the dashboarding that you see here is using out of the box JSM widgets. I haven't used any third-party apps here. We can see the total number of issues right now on our backlog. I mean, we can use one of these two-dimensional filters to see what priorities we have each request type for each request type. If we have any tickets that we personally want to keep an eye on, we can watch them by clicking on the little eyeball icon on each ticket, and we can have a list of our tickets that we find more pertinently available. I don't have any tickets assigned to me, thank goodness. So that's good. I have no work on my plate. We can even derive some insights. Like let's look at this average age chart for our IT support project. You can see that before April 28, our ticket age was getting a little out of control. The average ticket in our system was open and active for 25 days, over a month. So you can see after April 28th that our team really dug down and really started working tickets off, and working clearing through our clearing through our backlog. And you can see that we've we're getting better and better at closing out tickets and making sure they don't last too long in the backlog. Um, at a glance, you can see all the resolved issues from each one of your agents. So you can kind of see, just keep an overall view of who's doing what type of work. And we can see that there's 73 tickets in progress, and 9 of them are gated by the customer. So there's 73 tickets that we are actively working at this moment on this project. So yeah, dashboarding is very important. I know management loves to visualize data and stay on top of all the work that's going on.
And one thing too with dashboards I would like to mention is, we showed kind of like a very a management level one, but as an agent as well, even pretty much a lot of your members from your team from the agent level up can utilize those dashboards. As a former person who used to work on tickets directly out of JSM, I would have a dashboard and I've created dashboards to come in and just see how many tickets I have, where my tickets are. So that way when I sit down, I'm already kind of ready to get my day going rather than going through a few different filters or queues. So you can really utilize these dashboards to go from agent level on up to your team so that everybody can get the view that they need to see and the information personalized to what's important for them.
Thanks, Brian. So we'll continue and talk about conversational ticketing. So right off the bat, you might be asking, hey, I mean, what's the difference between conversational ticket and the AI virtual agent? So conversational ticketing is support that happens in real time between human agents and JSM and help seekers that are on the chat platform like Slack or Microsoft Teams. It gives your users the ability to open tickets without ever having to leave the collaboration tools that they're comfortable using. Um, so yeah, like I said before, if we have any if you have a big organization and you can't afford to retrain, or you don't have the bandwidth to give 2,000 to 3,000 employees training on how to use a service portal or rewired all the information, they can go into Slack. I have a channel set up for our agents in a non-demo environment. This channel would be populated with all the service agents that are either relevant to your entire project or your entire instance, depending on how you want to split it up. For most of the clients that I've worked with, they like to have a separate channel for each project, which then they usually have a one-to-one relation between project and the team. So if I want to say, hey, my laptop is broken, um, I can either raise a ticket by, okay, so I'm a customer, so I'll switch into my agent hat. I see that one of our customers' laptop is broken. I could communicate with them, ask more questions in the thread to derive more information, get the laptop model, get more information on what's wrong. And then once I get enough information, I can raise a request as an agent, broken asset. I can add a description, clever Palta's laptop is broken, and I can even add a priority. Of course, all of this can be configured from JSM. So if you have more information that you want to add for a ticket, or if you just want to have a summary and then have your agents work the rest off in the JSM interface, they can do that. Click on submit, and just like that, Atlassian Assist will help us, and it will raise a request, and your customer will be able to see it, and your agents will be able to see the ticket from their side, and they'll be able to work it off using the JSM interface. Um, so yeah, that's what I have for conversational ticketing. And last but not least, let's talk about turbo boosting our JSM instance using third-party applications. So I do want to start by saying out of the box, JSM is already a very feature-rich service management tool. JSM, I would say about 80 to 90% of the business asks that your service team, that most common service teams ask for, are available from JSM out of the box, no additional costs. But if you have a need that might not be handled by a out of the box JSM feature, there are thousands of apps available in JSM for the Atlassian marketplace. Many apps have a free trial period, and if you're using JSM Cloud, you can just go to the marketplace, click on Start Free Trial, and you don't have to deal with an installation process. You don't have to deal with, any downtime. You can usually try most tools out with a click of a button. And if you have any questions about implementation or the full feature set or best practices for an app developer teams are usually available to discuss your needs. I know from personal experience, if I ever had a question, either from a customer or just by myself, I can get a response from these teams in less than a work day usually. I can get a Zoom call set up for the next day or the day after with most of these app developer teams. So it's a very active marketplace. There's plenty of developers that are actively creating and supporting apps today, and it's an easy way to add functionality to your JSM projects with a click of a button. So I'll highlight some of the third-party uh, apps I've used and I recommend to my clients. So an important one that I've used a lot before is Temple Timesheets. This is a great tool for time tracking, any sort of billing or invoicing, capex, opex. If you're in the HR space, it's very important to track capex, opex for tax reasons. Um, you know, one-click solution integrates with your tickets very easily. You can assign, you know, each service request work to an internal time tracking code. You can fill all your timesheets in the tool instead of having to use a third-party tool to then go in and submit your timesheets. Not too difficult to implement, very feature rich. Another app that I want to discuss is Script Runner for Jira. Although we have um, a lot of out of the box JSM automation, which is already very powerful and can probably fulfill most of your team's needs. If your team requires, let's say, some, very logic intensive workflow automation, anything with field calculations, if you need to do math or, any type of logic based modification to your fields, or if your team is used to scripting, they don't want to use the Lego block automations. Um, there's a lot of Groovy scripting capabilities built into Script Runner. So it's a very general tool, but you can really use it to modify JSM to look and feel however you would want it to. If you really want to unlock it and just be able to go in there and script, if you're more used to kind of like the scripting functionalities of, let's say, a ServiceNow, and you want your JSM instance to feel more like ServiceNow and their JavaScripting workflows and issues, I do recommend Script Runner for Jira. Another one I want to talk about is Revise Data Manager. So out of the box, there's not too many good backup and restore tools for Jira Cloud. You can't access any of the data that's hidden from the cloud. So if there is a lot of mistakes made or you need to generate backups, there's not really a way to do that out of the box. Another big issue right now with JSM that they don't have a feature built for is copying configurations from sandbox to production. So without this add-on, there's no one-click solution for um, gathering all the changes that you've made in your sandbox and pushing it to production. Without this tool, you would have to manually, keep track of and then implement all the changes after an approval or testing period. So a revised data manager is a very useful tool for your configuration management of your instance. Brian, are there any apps you recommend to the good people on this call?
Yeah, I've got a few. The first one I want to talk about is called Refined Sites for JSM by a company named Refined. Yeah, that's it right there. And what this does is this gives your service desk portal more of a theme. You can do a lot more branding, a lot more customization on the front end side. So when your customers, whether those be external or internal customers, are coming into your portal to open a request, you can make it feel like your other sites do. So you can continue with your company's branding and have it feel a little more unique and a little bit more personalized. So that's one that I think is really cool. You can do some customizations on your portal out of JSM out of the box, but this extends it beyond that. So you can, like I said, continue with your branding, continue with making it feel a little bit more like an a company website. The next one I want to talk about kind of hits on the script runner part, but it's called Jira Miscellaneous Custom Fields by a company called AppFire. And yeah, perfect. And what this does is this actually allows some more custom fields to be created, and they're a little bit different of the field types that you can do within Jira. So this kind of expands those field types. Like mentioned earlier, you can do some calculating field types. You can gather information like when a ticket was transitioned by a user, time and status, how many times a ticket's actually been transitioned just throughout its lifespan. Information like that is what you can gather. So a little bit more data being put into your tickets and just your overall JSM experience. And then the last one I want to talk about is Easy BI reports and charts for Jira. And this one is by a company called Easy BI. And what this does is this kind of extends the dashboards and reports that we talked about earlier. This makes them a little bit more visual appealing, and also it kind of you can manipulate the data a little bit more with the Jira miscellaneous custom fields like I talked about a second ago. You can put more data in, so the data that you want to get out is only as good as the data that you're putting in. So you're putting in good data. Let's get the data out in a more visual appealing way for some of those, maybe higher level, C-level type users who want to look at this information. So that's what EasyBI does is it extends your reports, it extends your dashboards, and gives you a little bit of more options there for charting, as well as Gantt charts, things like that. So those are the three plugins I recommend, the apps that recommend to use for JSM. If you feel that out of the box, you do need to add a few things to it. But like you said, Clever, it is very rich and powerful just out of the box.
I agree. I mean, this app I would say is important if you need live data visualization. 'Cause JSM, there's usually a lag or you need to hit a refresh button to get the latest information. But I know with these visualization apps, they're better about getting real-time information. So if you have a management has like a monitor up in their office where they need to see a real-time information, I do recommend an app like that.
Certainly.
Awesome. So in review, JSM has a ton of features. We were limited to about an hour, so I just talked about 10 of the more important features I thought were available and are interesting enough to talk about to an audience here. So if you have any questions about any of the features that we discussed here today, or any, features about any, JSM implementations that are custom to your needs or your organization's needs, please feel free to reach out to Release Team. Um, we're gonna have, yeah, we have a little QR code here that you can scan if you have any questions or if you want to contact us. But let's get to the Q&A. So if you have not typed up any questions, now is a good time to do so. Well, let me continue to share that. One
Yeah.
sec.
Clever, I can go
My
ahead.
admin.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, 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 go ahead. I was just gonna pull up the question list maintained by our awesome administrators here,
I was
but
gonna say I have those, so I can go ahead and read those off for us, and then
oh,
that way we
awesome.
can
Oh,
go.
yeah, there we go. Yeah,
You're already sharing so much. So
that's
let
true.
so the first question we have here is, does a user have to have a JSM license to submit a ticket?
That's a good question. And the answer is no. A license is only needed for any of the users that Atlassian considers an agent. An agent is anyone who is manipulating a ticket, working a ticket off, moving it through the workflows. So if you have someone who only needs to look at dashboards or reporting, they don't need a ticket. I mean, they don't need a license. If you need, if you have someone who is only submitting tickets, a customer would not need a license. So that is something to keep in mind and hopefully help reduce costs for your organization.
All right. Another question. Um, I'm already using Jira software. How can I start using JSM?
So if you already have a Jira Cloud instance, you can add JSM to your instance just by navigating through the settings cog and adding that product into your organization, into your Atlassian organization. And if you have Jira and JSM in the same organization, you can enable all the data links and intelligent screening like that. So you can create a JSM project, and if there are any bugs that need to be sent to your development team that's working in Jira, that data connection's already there, so you wouldn't need any more third-party apps or any plugins. You would just be able to navigate a few menus and move information back and forth from JSM and Jira as needed.
Okay. Um, Another question here. When a user is creating a ticket or a ticket is created from them, can it show a history of the previous tickets they've opened?
So yes, so if you go into a ticket and you can click on the requester name. It's usually, you know, in a blue hyperlink. You can then go in and it'll show a history of all the tickets, history of all the changes they've made, and you can also create a filter and you can target this filter to a certain user and this use then you would be able to pull up all the tickets that are either open or closed throughout all your projects that were opened by this certain requestor. So long answer, yes. Short answer, yes.
Sounds good. Um, do I need to sign up to use Atlassian Intelligence or the assets feature that was shown?
So Atlassian Intelligence and the Assets feature is only available for subscribers who are on the premium or enterprise tier. So Atlassian Intelligence can be enabled and disabled from the settings screen if you don't want that in your organization, but Assets is not available unless you have a premium subscription to JSM
And another
or
question
higher.
here that kind of goes along with that. What about service level agreements? Are those available in JSM and do I have to sign up for those?
So SLAs are available out of the box all the way from the free tier on up. They're pretty well integrated with all of the project templates that I showed at feature number one. Um, there's already, like when we create a project from a template, there's already a few more common SLAs that get built up, like time to first response, time to resolution, that you don't really have to program any further. But if there are any additional SLAs that we want to add, it's pretty simple to do that through the configuration screens in your project.
Okay. Let's see here. Our team often has to provide the same comment on tickets. Is there any way to record these as like a common response to complete these updates more quickly and consistently?
Yeah, so I mean, right off the top of my head, there's two ways to tackle this problem. JSM has canned responses available for your agents. So if there is a canned message that your agents have to use, um, they would just have to go to the common screen, and there's a little drop down box in the taskbar that says canned responses, and you can have all as many responses as you need for your organization saved. Also, the second solution I would recommend for that is leveraging some of those automation features in JSM. So if there's a ticket that's null and void or a ticket that really isn't a ticket, I need to add not only a canned response but push it to closed we can set up an automation to be triggered manually from the ticket, which is also another taskbar item. We would drop down on automations. We would create an automation that would not only add that canned response, but it would also push the ticket to a closure state and a resolved state. So we don't have just 70 tickets in the backlog that are spam that a user would manually have to like drag or cycle through a status tree. So those are the two solutions I would say for those issues.
Awesome. Are you able to do approvals in JSM?
Yes, all of the ITSM templates that I showed have at least one workflow built out of the box that have an approval gate. Any custom workflow that you want to build can have approval as many approval gates as you can from status to status. So yes, that's something that's available in JSM out of the box.
And with those approvals, one thing I like to add too is that you can also, it can be, we just need one person to sign off, or maybe we need a few people to sign off from a certain group, maybe an IT group. Those are areas that you can customize in those approvals as well. As you can include that we need two approvals out of five, or three out of five, or just one of one. So there is some kind of, a
Yeah,
customization in
or
there
like
for
we
that.
only need our like only tier 3 staff can approve these tickets. That's all that can all be built with the workflow tool out of the box with JSM.
I think we mentioned this earlier, or so we mentioned HR earlier. So there's a question about, if I use this for HR, how do I know that the right people view tickets for HR only? So basically making that information not public for everyone.
So there are issue security configurations that you can set up for each project in JSM. That's a feature that's available from the I want to say standard tier on up. So you would create a scheme that will tell that, and you will have to configure the scheme to point towards fields or ticket types that only certain groups have visibility into. So I know we've had clients in the past that have to be HIPAA compliant or HR teams that have a lot of PII floating out there that they do not want everyone to see. And when you implement these issue security schemes, it also makes sure that these issues won't show up in dashboards or any search filters either. So there's not really a workaround for a user that doesn't have permissions to view these tickets to try to view these tickets.
Yeah, and another good thing is with that too is that it's another area where you can utilize automation to apply that issue security to those issue types. So that way you make sure it's not sitting out there for everyone.
Absolutely.
Another question. Nope, I lost it and I'm back. I heard JSM has knowledge bases. How does that work?
So JSM leverages Confluence, which is another Atlassian tool. It's kind of like their wiki tool if you haven't heard about it, to maintain knowledge bases. Although you don't need a Confluence license to enable knowledge bases, you will need to at least enable the free version of Confluence with one admin user in there in order to enable the knowledge base feature in your projects. And once that connection is set up, the knowledge base can be maintained within the project screen in JSM. So you won't have to go back and forth into Confluence to maintain and update your knowledge base. But that's how the back end works. And it is a little confusing, especially for new users too. And it's also very easy to accidentally give too many people Confluence licenses, and then you end up having to pay for it. So it's always important to minimize if you're only using knowledge bases, so you're not really using Confluence, you want to just create an admin user that has access to the knowledge base. I mean, yeah, to Confluence. All your other agents will be able to manipulate the knowledge base through JSM with only using a JSM agent license, not a Confluence license.
And one of the benefits of doing that is then you can kind of focus more on having ticket deferment, because users will go in, start typing what they're having an issue with. And if it's an article that you have or something that's related to the knowledge base, it can pop up that information. They can look at it, and you can sometimes, defer that ticket so then your agents are able to continue working on the other tickets that are not those little tier one tickets that are coming in, as well as it also suggests articles for your agents so that they can, rather than go and trying to search for something, can get that suggestion out there. Let's see here. We can't use cloud at my company. Are any of these features for JSM on data center that we mentioned today?
So yes and no. I mean, I feel like JSM Cloud and Data Center have branched into two completely different tools like a few years ago. So a lot of the app developers will create and develop their apps and maintain their apps for both JSM Cloud and JSM Data Center. However, this isn't the case for all of them. Also, I know like let's say smart forms, that's not available out of the box in JSM Data Center. You would have to um, add a third-party app like Proforma in order to get that functionality into your data center instance. So a lot, yeah, cloud is the more feature-rich um, of the two, and I feel like cloud does have more of the app support nowadays than data center. But if your organization is, air gapped or you just can't use cloud for security or business reasons, data center is still a very viable product and it's still supported and it's still feature rich.
All right, I think we're almost at the top of the hour. I'll ask, probably got time for one more question here.
Okay.
Is there a way for an agent to look through my network to find assets to put in JSM?
So JSM does come with a scanning tool. JSM, you can add a tool that's developed by Atlassian that does scanning through your system and populates your assets database. Of course, it's not, auto magic. You still need to create the data schemas and ensure that the scanning tool is configured to get the correct fields for your schema. And like I said earlier in the talk, there's also on the Jira marketplace, the Atlassian marketplace, there are a lot of apps that turn on connectivity between third-party data management CM database tools and allows that to go into your JSM assets database, so you don't have two sources of truth. You can have your one source of truth that you already have if you have that legacy source of truth and just ensure that that information is synchronized with JSM. And JSM can even make changes to your data to your third party CMDB if needed. Like let's say if for the examples that we use in this call, your laptop is broken and we need to make sure that gets updated in your uh, third party CM database. The connectors can make that happen.
Awesome. Yeah, that's all the time we got for questions, so I'll throw it back to you, Clever.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for spending your lunch with us. Once again, I'm Clever Palta for Release Team. If you have any questions about JSM, Atlassian, or one of the tools that we partner with, uh, just please go on that website. There's a form you can fill out, and either me or any one of the consultants that we have will be more than happy to talk about any technical solution that you would want. So thank you for your time. Uh, Thank you for being here, and thank you, Brian, for being my co-host today.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and thanks for enjoying lunch.
Bye, everyone.